joining us right now. Fox News Channel's Bret Baier, of course, anchor a special report. And Bret, listen, so much to talk to you about. We're just getting word in now that things are heating up for Secretary Shinseki. And, of course, I also want to talk about the big interview that you got with Hillary Clinton. Oh, do we not have Bret yet? Oh, he just dropped off. All right, well, he's going to be...
We must have had a phone issue. Well, we'll reestablish.
I am letting you know all of the things we are going to ask him about, which includes this announcement that came yesterday afternoon that he and Greta Van Susteren are going to get a joint interview with Hillary Clinton. It's going to take 30 minutes. It's going to span both of their shows, last 15 minutes of Greta's show, On the Record, and then the first 15 minutes of Bret's show, Special Report.
That's right.
So that'll be pretty cool.
And this, of course, comes in the wake of the fact that Hillary is releasing her book, and
yes.
she has a lot of things she has to say. There's
hard choices. Do you think it was a hard choice to go on the most popular, most viewed cable news network? Here's Bret. So I want to ask you about that. I want to ask you about Shinseki, but let's start with your book. You wrote a book, and I'm so excited to read it, frankly, because, you know, all of us have been following the journey you've gone through as a father of a child with a very special medical condition, and your book is called Special Heart, A Journey of Faith, Hope, Courage, and Love, and it debuts next week. Congratulations on finishing the book. Tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it comes out Tuesday, and we're excited about it. I mean, it is our journey through Paul's congenital heart defects and battle with pediatric heart disease, and he's had 3 open heart surgeries, as we've talked about before, but I decided about a year and a half ago to kind of start this, and the genesis of it was emails I sent to family and friends through this journey. I added how I got to Washington, small market TV, and meeting my wife into it, some funny stories in the mix. But I thought, and I think, that this book potentially could help families who are dealing with something. It doesn't have to be open heart surgery. Everybody has something, and this is how we got through our something.
Can't wait.
We're going to donate all the proceeds I receive to pediatric heart disease research and treatment.
Wow. Well, listen, I hope the best of luck on that book. That's did you work with a guy on this?
Jim Mills.
I think I know. Yeah, I thought you worked with Jim Mills.
Yeah, former Fox producer. He called about a year and a half ago, and I was already kind of working on the outlines of this book. And he said, "Have you thought about doing a book?" And so I couldn't do it alone. So we bounced things back and forth, and we came out with something that I think is really readable.
Yeah, well, I can't wait because it's a great story. I know a little of it, and I know some of the things you've been through, and it's a great tale. So I'm glad you're putting it down in writing.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about some of the things that are in the news right now. The big news is, of course, that you're going to get your chance to sit down with Hillary Clinton. Tell us what is going on in that regard.
Yeah, so it's June 17th. And it's an interview with Secretary Clinton. It'll be a half an hour, and it's with Greta Van Susteren as well. And it's going to air starting at 6:45 in Special Report and go uninterrupted into Greta's show until 7:15.
That's interesting.
So it's kind of a different blend.
Is it live or taped?
It's live to tape. We'll tape it earlier in that day.
Okay, right.
And so it'll be straight through without commercial.
All right, so obviously you've been working on your list of questions that you have for her?
You know, we just locked it in yesterday, so there's plenty to ask her. Today, with the Politico story about her Benghazi chapter.
Well, I was just going to get to that. There's a story that came out on Politico that lays out a lot of the detail that's in the chapter she writes about Benghazi. Let me just read one quote. She said, "I will not be part of a political slugfest on the backs of dead Americans. It's just plain wrong, and it's unworthy of our great country. Those who insist on politicizing the tragedy will have to do so without me." And she doesn't name, I think, Fox News by name, but she suggests that some media outlets have twisted the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's very defiant as you read the write-up of it and the quotes there. It's not defensive. It's very defiant. And so we'll see. She'll do a couple of other interviews as well. I think she's doing ABC with Diane Sawyer before us, and we'll see what comes out of that. Obviously, there are very specific questions that are straightforward that I think it'd be interesting to hear her answer.
It will, and it'll also be interesting, frankly, from our perspective, to see how you and Greta are able to craft your questions so that you know she's going to be prepared. You know that she's going to have some lengthy responses from her own perspective, and you need to be able to figure out a way to cut through it and get right to a question so she can't filibuster and use the time. It's quite a challenge. Can't wait.
It is a challenge, and I can't wait either. We'll see how it goes. I do, it's funny. You want these big interviews. You're always striving to get them. And when you get them, the challenge is orchestrating it to where you can get the most substance out of it.
Yep.
And, it happens with presidential interviews. It happens with any big interview.
Let's pivot to the big talk around town, of course, is what's happening at the VA, and it's a great thing that we're discussing it because the vets deserve some attention here, given what they've had to deal with it. Yeah, but all of the focus seems to be on the fate of Secretary Shinseki. What do you think is going to happen today?
Well, I don't usually make predictions, but I'd be surprised if he makes it through today. You have Steve Israel just came out with a release saying Shinseki should go. There are now, I think, 11 Senate Democrats who put out releases, most of them yesterday, and more than a dozen House members. It seems like they may have been tipped off that something's in the cards, and most telling was Jay Carney at the podium yesterday, unable to say whether the president has confidence in Secretary Shinseki. So I think...
he's meeting with the president today, right?
He is, and I think that's telling, too. So it's Friday, and I bet 3 o'clock sounds like a pretty good time.
That seems to be the way these things go.
But, then the other side of that equation is so many times, we got our head, so the guy's gone. So,
that's the biggest problem, obviously, Brian. It's systemic. I mean...
Well, yeah, and you're going to be trying to fix the problem without a secretary of the VA.
That's right. And you have an IG report now that, Phoenix was much worse than they originally thought. It's now, the IG is investigating 42 facilities around the country. And you have an issue that I think is really going to be hot for a long time.
What's interesting here, and your own Ed Henry there at Fox News yesterday was talking about this, the fact that he's hearing from inside the White House and from some Democratic operatives around town that Obama's thinking here is that firing Shinseki would mean giving in to Rumsfeld and Bush. I mean, he's still back in the Iraq War political mentality.
It's interesting. If you look back at what he said when Shinseki came in, I mean, he was the anti-Bush Rumsfeld VA secretary.
Yes, he symbolized that. Yeah.
So I think that could be part of the reason it's been very difficult to get to this place.
All right. Well, Bret, thanks for joining us. And again, your book, I mean, not only is it going to focus some attention on your son's personal situation and also raise some money for the condition, but also just I think you're going to be able to help a lot of parents who are going through a lot of things. So I'm very excited about your book. Can't wait to talk about it with you some more.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sorry, I get like very personally involved with these things. So I'm sorry if I'm losing my words here.
I appreciate it, Larry.
All the best, Bret. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you.